The forum was advertised in one of our local Kansas City papers, and it looks like they transposed the address and put 6801 instead of 6108. So we're hoping that maybe some of the folks that are just riding around out there in limbo will join us a little bit later. But my name is Alice Flowers, and I'm a member with the NAACP, Kansas City chapter. I am also a member of the NAACP or NAACP political committee. And what I'd like to do at this time is have our chairman, our political committee chairman, Mr. Eugene Standifer, come up and open up for us officially. And Mr. Standifer is also a former legislator for the 2nd District, Jackson County 2nd District, and we'll just turn this over to him.
Good afternoon. I want to thank the Raytown Christian Church for having us. It's a wonderful pleasure. And the NAACP welcomes each of you. The reason that we like to have these forums are two reasons. We like to inform voters so they know the candidates, so they know who they're voting for. And secondly, we like to have a good turnout, a voter turnout. That's what civil rights is all about. That's what the NAACP is about. We want everyone to vote, everybody to vote. At one time, women couldn't vote. At one time, blacks couldn't vote. We have people, we want them to exercise the vote. With that, I won't take any more time so we can get started. Thank you again for coming out. It's wonderful for the NAACP to see all the happy faces. And also the team, well, I don't know whether you realize it or not, if you want to join the NAACP, we have an open membership. Everybody's welcome to become members of our Kansas City, Missouri branch. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Standifer. Also, before we get started, we'd like to, first of all, thank our candidates for coming out. All 5 candidates were extended a welcome invitation to join us, and 2 of our candidates had prior engagements, and they made contact with us, but they weren't able to make it. But we're going to go ahead and thank our candidates that did attend, Mr. Terry Lander, Mr. Jerome Barnes, and Mr. Eric Tiemann. And I hope Mr. Tiemann doesn't get mad at me, but we're going to say happy birthday. Today is his birthday today. And so we really appreciate that this was so important to him that he kind of put his birthday on the back burner for a little bit to join us today. And I'd also like to acknowledge Raytown Mayor, who introduced himself a little bit ago, and my memory is sharp, so I forgot your name. David Bauer. I'd like to thank you and acknowledge you for coming out. And we have also Bonnet Mims, who is the president of the Hickman Mills School District, who is joining us tonight and has a lot of experience in education. So we'd like to invite her up to just say a couple of words. And it doesn't look like she was expecting this, I'm not sure.
I was put up too. Oh, bless your heart. Good afternoon, how's everybody? I was invited to come in. I was trying to sneak in and sit in the back, as you noticed. And usually I do that so I can learn a little bit about the crowd. But I want to say to all the candidates, I wish you the best, good luck, and study, do your homework. And the one most important thing is learn about your budget, since they know, all of us know that we're going through a lot right now with all the educational budgets being cut. And then study your district and get to know your candidate, not your candidates, but your voters. And what else can I tell you all about? You got your signs all done? You got your literature ready for mail? You got your poll workers? Because believe it or not, I'm campaigning right about now too. So it's a tough job. But I think I should say to you is I'm pleased to see you all concerned about the education of our children. And those is what is most important right about now for everybody. So one of the pieces I'm using in mine is we're working with less, but we still continue to give our best. So I'd like to thank you, Mayor, for seeing you out tonight and all you good folks, because believe it or not, you almost don't have a lot of issues going on, because every forum we've had, the room's been packed wall to wall. So I just kind of make sure I'm on my toes. So good luck.
Thank you, Panye. We're going to go ahead and get started. I know Mr. Standiford thanked the Raytown Church and its members, but I'd also like to go ahead and mention Don and Joe Meeks, who are co-pastors of Raytown Christian Church, who were so warm and so receptive and helpful getting us in here and allowing us to host this forum today. So just wanted to say thank you to them. When you came in, you were given some index cards. Does everybody have their index cards? We have some questions already pre-prepared for our candidates. We're going to ask those questions, but what we're really hoping is to hear from you. And it's not that many of you, so feel free to get some more cards and ask all the questions you want. We're going to need to have those questions come forth. This is Joyce Downing. And Joyce and I are actually co-moderators, and I don't know if I mentioned my name is Alice Flowers, of the forum tonight. And you didn't come to hear me talk, so I'm going to go ahead and shut up and get the questions going here. Okay, and I'm just kind of pulling out of the stack here, no special form. Our first question this afternoon to our candidates: what can you do to work with students, principals, and students and parents to improve AYP? Does that question make sense to you all? Okay. And we didn't actually choose how we would select our candidates, so why don't I just say alphabetical order? Would that be okay with you all? Mr. Barnes?
You want to do a 2-minute introduction on each of them?
Okay, I'm sorry. I did fail to mention, we're going to go ahead and let each candidate, why don't we let each candidate take 2 minutes to introduce themselves and just talk a little bit about your history and then what's prompting you to run for Raytown Board of Education, okay?
Well, before I get started, only one thing that I'd like to ask is that we rotate this alphabetical order after the first one, okay?
Okay.
Okay, great. Good evening, and thanks for coming out today. Thanks to the NAACP for holding this forum. My name is Jerome Barnes. My wife and I moved to the Raytown area over 25 years ago. And by the way, we was married when we moved here. And we moved here to start our family. And one of the reasons was because of the Raytown School District. We have 3 children, Donisha, Jerome II, and Jeremy. They all was raised in the Raytown area. I served in the military for 6 years, 3 active and 3 reservists. In 2009, after 30 years with the United States Postal Service, I retired as a labor specialist. As a labor specialist, I represented the Postal Service in labor disputes and EEOs, MSPB, and arbitration. I have actively served the community in Raytown through my coaching little leagues. I volunteered at the YMCA. I volunteered at Our Ladies of Lord's school here in Raytown. I served on the school advisory board as a volunteer athletic director, also in Raytown at Our Ladies of Lord's for the past 5 years. I previously volunteered at the Boys Club, the Boys and Girls Club. I was the president of Raytown Sports Association. I served on the Robertson PTA back in the early days. I was a member of the Raytown School Demographic Planning Committee. I officiated sports for the last 17 years. I believe that a community as Raytown to be successful, need volunteers. That's my big thing. And with the history of my volunteering, I feel that I can be an active, knowledgeable member of the board, providing leadership for the Raytown School District in the future. I'm committed to learning more about the process involved and the steps necessary to make informed, database-driven decisions. From my experience as a parent and volunteer, I feel I have learned a great deal about what makes a school efficient. I hope to be a voice for both the teachers and the people of our community and welcome open discussion among all stockholders who support our local school system. My theme is, preparing our children for their future is our #1 job. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barnes. Mr. Lander?
Again, would like to thank all of you for being here. Thank the NAACP for allowing us to have this Meet the Candidates Forum. A little bit about myself. My wife and I, my wife's back there in the crowd, we've been married 45 years. We moved here back in 1965, and we've lived in Raytown ever since. In fact, we bought the house that we live in 1968, and we live in the same house that we bought back then. Both my wife and I are retired teachers from the Raytown School District. She taught kindergarten for 31 years, and I taught at all levels for 31 years. I started out elementary physical education, and then I went to, then it was called Raytown Junior, it's Raytown Central now, middle school, but then I and coached and taught health and physical education for 7 years, and then I went to the central office and became the director of community education for 4 years. And then in 1980, when Coach Chitwood retired at Raytown High School, they were going to offer the athletic director job and put it in with an assistant principal. So in 1980, I became assistant principal at Raytown High School, along with the athletic director's position. And I did that for 15 years until I retired in 1969. So I've been retired since 1969. I'm sorry, let's go 1996. I haven't been retired since 69. I may have wanted to retire in 69, but I didn't do that. Retired in 1996. I have maintained my volunteer commitment to the Raytown, city of Raytown. I belong to the Parks and Recreation Board of Education. I'm on the Shepherd Center of Raytown Board. I'm on the Raytown Lee Summit Credit Union Board of Directors, and I'm very active in my church, which is the Blue Ridge Boulevard United Methodist Church. The reason I ran for the school board 6 years ago was the same reason that I continue and want to run on right now. I believe that we have a commitment to our students here in Raytown. I've worked with them for many, many years, and I wanted to continue that. I see that our sign here says, "Please stop." So I must have taken my 2 minutes. But anyway, I still believe that we need to support our young people. We need to support our teachers and our administrators. And I feel like I've had a good relationship in doing that for the past 6 years, and I'm going to continue doing that for the next 3 years.
Thank you, Mr. Lander. And last but not least, we have Eric Tiemann.
I'd like to thank everybody for coming out today. Thank the NAACP for hosting the event. My name is Eric Tiemann. I'm pretty much a lifelong Raytown resident. I grew up here. I did spend some time in small town Missouri, south of here, when my parents got divorced, but my dad lived here the whole time, so I spent pretty much all of my time in Raytown. I graduated from Raytown South. I went on to get my college degree at UMKC in liberal arts, and eventually moved on to get my master's in business administration from Keller Graduate School, as well as get certified as in stocks and health and life insurance with my Series 7, Series 66, and my health insurance licenses. So a little bit of background on me. I run my family's business here in the Kansas City metropolitan area. I have two beautiful daughters, both who attend Raytown schools. One attends Fleet Ridge, she's in the 3rd grade, and a big-time soccer and softball player and dancer. And my oldest is exclusively a dancer. She goes to Raytown Middle. She dances up at Wind Twins. And I just decided that it was time for me to step up and do something for my community, because I've been in the community for so long. And this was an opportunity for me to get out there and participate and actually make a difference in my community. Thanks to Mr. Lander's daughter, she encouraged me to make sure I got out there and signed up, and so I did. And so here I am. I'm excited and a lot of energy to go forward with the process and see what I can do to help the school district move forward. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Tiemann, and thanks to all our candidates. And I failed to mention, we have a timekeeper up front who is going to be signaling our candidates when their time is up, and I think they kind of picked up on that without me saying anything. She was waving at them. And she's going to give, well, we're going to give each candidate, we're going to ask questions and give each candidate 2 minutes to respond to each question. She will be signaling our candidates when they're getting close to their time, and then the time is up, and then she'll just wave a flat-out stop. And so we're asking that you begin to complete your sentence when you see that your time is up. And for those who have just arrived, hopefully you've got your cards, and we're really encouraging our audience to participate by writing your questions down. And we have a person who will come around and collect your questions, get them to the moderator, and we'll ask your questions for you. And so I'm just part of a committee, and they're out there making faces at me and waving at me. So did I get everything, you guys? Are we ready to move on? Oh, okay. We do have a registration table back here, and we're registering people to vote, and we're also registering for new NAACP members. Now, I know that the NAACP has been around for a while, and most people are familiar, but anybody, can join the NAACP. I think Joyce and I up here are kind of shows that everybody's welcome to join the NAACP. So you can do that by registering at the table back here with Ms. Jackson. So I guess now we're ready to go on and move on with our questioning to our candidates. Some questions will be directed to all 3 candidates, and some questions will be specific to maybe 1 or 2. We'll let you know. Our first question: what can you do to work with teachers, principals, and students and parents to improve AYP? And I kind of cheated. You guys had a chance to kind of work on that here. I gave that one up.
I guess they rotated the... Yeah, all right. How can we work together with parents, students, teachers, principals, pretty much everybody to make AYP, adequate yearly progress, improve, right? I think the best way that you can work to make things improve is to listen. Listen to what the teachers are saying they need in the classroom. Listen to what principals are needing at their school. Listen to what parents are really concerned about, and then you also got to listen to what the actual experience is of the student, because granted they're students, but they are who we're communicating to, and if it's not getting through them, we need to listen to them and find out why it's not getting through them. Our children all learn in different ways. I know I learned in different ways. I learned, when I took my MBA, I went to an online program, and I learned very well that way. And other students, they learn well in different ways. Some might learn well by watching videos. Some might learn well by reading books. Some might learn well by actually getting their hands dirty and getting into it and a hands-on approach. So to improve that, we need to just kind of embrace the fact that everybody has a different way of learning and do our best to accommodate every individual as much as possible to help them advance at their own pace and move forward at what they're good at.
I don't know, I may ask to repeat that question, please.
What can you do to work with its teachers, principals, and students and parents to improve AYP.
And I have one other question. Help me with, I know what AYP refers to, but could you tell me what AYP stands for?
Annual adequate yearly progress.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, it goes back to, in my opinion, it goes back to what I was saying at first. It boils down to we need more volunteers, we need more input, we need more participation from the parents. We need to give our teachers the tools that they need to be successful. We need to hold our students accountable, make sure that they have a nice place to come to school and it's safe, not bullying. If you get a kid that wants to come to school, then he coming for a reason. He will learn there if you make it safe for him. If we get our parents involved by having, if not monthly meetings, quarterly meetings, or inform them of what's going on. I think our retired administrators and teachers, if they get more involved with the process, maybe an hour a week, 2 hours a week, a young man or a young lady that's dragging behind, to lift them up, I think that would be a great start in improving our AYP. But I'm a strong believer that we need more involvement from the community, from our parents. We give our teachers the tools that they need to be successful, and that's my take on how to improve the AYP. And the more experience and the more that I learn in this process would be a better understanding for me as to how to improve the AYP. Thank you.
One thing about getting to be the third person at any one of these questions, you can just say ditto. And generally everything's been covered, and it probably has been. As a board, it's our responsibility to ensure that the school district, the staff, the teachers, the students, not only have the facilities in which they can function properly, but have the programs in place and the equipment that's needed to accomplish the given task, and in this case it's to improve the AYP. So we need, as a board, to see that these things are there and then empower the people that are really responsible for that, the teachers, the administrators, the principals and what have you. Empower them to do their job and then also hold them accountable. And then if the job isn't being done to meet these needs, then we need to take steps then through our administration to see that that happens. But our responsibility is more to empower and to furnish the equipment, the books, the whatever, to see that this happens, and then go from there.
And I think, can you all hear me? If I just yell? How would you describe student relations in Raytown schools?
I think we can refer this to as student apathy. And 6 years ago, when I first ran for the school board, this was one of the concerns that I had. And also, I can even go back further than that. As a teacher and administrator, student apathy was a major problem that we had then, and we still have some to some degree right now. I think it's our responsibility as board members to, again, work through our administrators and our teachers and staff, but to encourage parent involvement, and that starts at the very early age of early childhood, parents as teachers, through our PTAs, through our contacts with our teachers and parents. But if you get your parents involved at an early age, then this will have a tendency to carry up through the grades, and you'll have less student apathy. You're still going to have some. Sometimes it's hard to motivate, but as Eric said, students learn at different ways. Then it's our responsibility, or the administrators and teachers' responsibility, to figure out how these students do learn, and then get them involved, and you'll cut down on a lot of this apathy.
Okay, student relations, right? Okay. As a coach, I noticed a lot where most of our coach was boys. Young men was growing up, by themselves. The mom had to work, and the young man would have a key to the house at the early age of 8, 9, and 10. I just think that more involvement is the key to the whole process. I mean, if somebody on the block know that young lady is working and the kid is at the house by themselves, they step up to the plate and give the opportunity for the young man to come spend some time with them. I think that what's happening is we are forgetting that if we don't step up and help these young men out, we'll be paying for it in the long run. I think if a person enjoys going to school, they more likely to learn something. And I would think, I was looking at the AYP for Raytown District. And last year we had somewhere in the neighborhood of 100 students to drop out of school. We had a total of 8,000 something in the Raytown area. That may not seem like a whole lot, but if you got 100 kids that's gonna forego school, then we're gonna pay for that in the long run. So I just think it's back to the bottom line is if we get more parents involved, I think our retired administrators get involved with the community, and I think it'll drive and it'll thrive and not drive.
How would you describe student relations in Raytown School?
Describe student relations. Let's see. There are a lot of student relations in Raytown schools. There's teacher-student relations, the students' relations with their parents, and then there's the relationship the student has with the other students within their school. I mean, just from my own personal experience with, my daughters, I think, all in all, I mean, especially comparing it back to when I went to school in Raytown schools, I think the student relations are pretty good. My children have loved every one of their teachers that they've had in elementary school, and they've gotten along great with the kids in their school. It's not like I hear about a whole bunch of fights or anything bad going on in the halls of the school. So from that perspective, it seems to be, the relations seem to be pretty good. Last year, the 5th grade classes at Spring Valley had a little rough go. And the 5th grade parents were called in to have a sit down with, I forget the principal's name, Mr. Owen. And so a bunch of the 5th grade parents came in, and we all, kind of just aired out our grievances and what we thought was the issues, going on with our kids at the Spring Valley School. And I think we were really able to clear the air, and it was really refreshing to see, a whole, I mean, we filled the library with concerned parents who were, there to be engaged with the school to help out with whatever problems, that might have been addressed. So, I mean, how would I describe the student relations in the Raytown schools? I would describe them as good. I mean, there's always room for improvement, but as a whole, I would say they're good.
Thank you. Keep the mic.
Keep the mic.
I used to teach junior high. One of the questions that I have on here, I think is a good follow-up to that, and for those of you who have the handouts at the bottom. One of my concerns while we're talking about student performance is that for the past 5 years, the percentage of Raytown students who take the ACT test, which is the college entrance exam that's used by most of the state schools in Missouri for criteria for admission, only 53.9% of Raytown students had even taken it last year, compared to a state average of 76%, which would tell you that we wouldn't have as many students who were preparing for college. And although our graduation rate has made AYP last year, we've also had some issues with graduation rate in the past. And the average score of the Raytown students on the ACT is 19.6, which lags 2 points behind the state average of 21.6. And just for example, University of Central Missouri down the road where I teach, which is just a moderately competitive admission process, requires a 21. So our average Raytown graduates who take the ACT wouldn't even be eligible to come to a state school. I'd like you to respond to what we can do to get more students better prepared for college.
Well, I guess it's my turn to lead off. Those are some not so good numbers there. Like I said, I've also looked at the AYP, and I noticed that only 29% of Raytown graduates go to a 4-year school. 35% of those go to a 2-year college. And what's so staggering about that is that 20% goes right into the workforce. I think if 20% of our people are going straight into the workforce, and that's good if that's what they want, but I think we should have more critical thinking and analyzing skills to where young men and women understand what effect that would have on their future down the road. And the way I believe that we can improve this, I don't know exactly what's in the budget, what the shortfalls are at this present time, but I would think it goes back to we need more personal contacts with the students, and I'm not saying that's not happening now, but what I'm trying to say is that students is evidently not getting the message that they need a higher education. That's very important. And what we need to do about that is to make sure that we give our teachers the tools, we set goals for them, and make sure that they adhere to those and see if we can increase these scores so that we'll be up to the state average.
I'm sitting looking at these numbers, and yeah, 53.9% of students taking the ACT is pretty low. But you got to ask yourself why. College isn't for everybody. I've got some very good friends who've gone through the Raytown School District, and they didn't go to college, and they own their own successful businesses because they're heating and air conditioning people. Well, you don't have to take an ACT to learn to be a heating and air conditioning guy. There's a whole very wide range of reasons why people may not be going. I think the most worrisome is that they lag in the score. That's what's worrisome, because that's where the education is maybe short. You've got to be able to get your kids into college if that's what they want to do. You have to provide them with the opportunities and the knowledge to be able to to be able to score well on the ACT. I know the first time I took the ACT, I scored a 20. The second time I scored a 25. it's a process, and it's usually not something you're just going to get on the first go around. I'm more interested in making sure that all the individual kids are getting to do what they want to do and are able to pursue the goals that they have for themselves. And that may not include college. And we shouldn't hold that against students if college is not what they're looking for. What if they want to be a firefighter and they want to go to the firefighting school? Well, you don't have to take the ACT to do that, and they're going to turn around and help your community. It's not so much that it's about college, but for the people who do want to go to college, they have to have the opportunity, they have to have the knowledge and the resources so that the average of 19.6 is above and beyond the state average of 21.6. Thank you.
The ACT is a benchmark that is needed to be taken by students in order to go on to school. I'm going to talk just a little bit before I get to that about the number that was presented going to 4-year versus going to 2-year. And then we didn't even mention about the technical schools that a lot of our kids are going to. So a lot of our students are going beyond the 4-year high school, but they're going to a 2-year, 4-year, or a technical school. A lot of students are going to the 2-year school because if they're in the A+ and they can qualify, they can get that free. And if you take a student that's really not sure what they want or what direction they want to go, they can go to a 2-year junior college and get that out of the way at no cost to their parent or reasonable cost to their parents, and then they can transfer that to a 4-year school and then graduate from the 4-year college, save themselves a lot of money doing that, or going on to a technical school. Now, the ACT is again, as Eric said, it's a process. It's something that you need to instill in our students that it's something they need to do, and then when they do it, they don't want to go in there and just arbitrarily go ABCD, ABCD, ABCD. They want to try on it, but they can start as early as the 8th grade. Our grandsons already had it once. But it's a process through our counseling system, through our teachers, and again involving parents to encourage their students to take it, even if they may not need it later on. They need to have it when they graduate. So it's just a process of back to this student apathy, of getting them to realize that high school is important and the things that you do there will affect you the rest of your life, and go ahead and get signed up for the ACT and go ahead and take it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bourne, is it your turn? Your school district is becoming diverse. What type of training is being given to staff regarding sensitivity issues and concerns? And so is this for our incumbent?
Well, through our leadership of our superintendent and his leadership team, we have initiated, or they have initiated, a lot of programs dealing with diverse populations, sensitivity training, going into the classroom level during staff development days and what have you, to talk about these very issues. So it isn't something that we're going to, or that we're trying to let happen happenstancely. It's something that they're looking at and working at, and it's through staff training, teacher development days, and through that kind of stuff.
Thank you. To all three candidates, what do you think is your role as a school board member?
What is my role as a school board member? My role as a school board member is to be, well, first part of a team, and second to be a voice on that team in the decision-making process that affects the schools. Whether it's from budgeting to curriculum to whatever other issues are brought before the board, disciplinary issues or whatever it might be. my role is to listen to the issues, listen to their positions that are being brought before the board, to sit down and think about it and make a solid decision as to what is the right course for the school board, at least from my perspective. But as it is, I mean, it's a board, so I'm not the end-all, be-all. I have to understand that. And, there are going to be people who disagree with me or agree with me, and you have to put your best foot forward and work as a team. And once the decision's made, you got to support it wholeheartedly and back the decision of the board.
What's that question again?
What do you think is your role as a school board member?
Well, what I think my role would be as a school board member here in Raytown would be, first of all, to make the meetings, try to make every meeting that the school board holds, and participate in the process of voting in the best interest of the students of our district. But I think some of the main goals that the board members are, they set the budget, they set policy, they hire and evaluate the superintendent. Those are, I think, some of the main goals that the school board members participate in.
In its simplest form, the responsibility of the school board is to hire and evaluate the superintendent and to develop and establish policies that allow the superintendent to function in his capacity to run the school district in the way that it should be run. Now, that's the simple Reader's Digest version of it, but also we need to listen to our constituents. We need to find out what is concerns of the district, what our shortfalls within the district are, but then again, we don't implement any policy to change those. We develop that policy, and then again, we empower the superintendent to operate in his capacity to make those changes that will take our district in the direction that it needs to go.
To the incumbent, you have been board member for a while. What do you intend to do to improve your district that you didn't do last year?
Well, we're no different than any other district right now, and that is we have a shortfall of money. And we're working with our superintendent, and he's working, and we're working with our legislators and our the people in Jeff City to see what we can do to help fund school districts. But what we want to do is just continue that way, and we're looking at what we can do as a district to save money without sacrificing student achievement. I feel like that our district is making some strides in that direction. Again, I would like to continue to be a part of that. But that's kind of where right now it comes down to some really serious budget questions that we have to deal with, and it's just a carryover from last year, though. But that's for all districts, not just us.
To the new candidates, what will you do to get more parents involved with the school process? In other words, how will you make parents feel welcome in the school?
How will I make the parents feel welcome in the school? I think being transparent, being out at events that the school is holding, such as, since I'm a coach, football games, gym, whatever's going on at the school. I think if the parents see you and able to come up and talk to you, I think that would be open and welcome sight for them to feel comfortable with the school board. from my experience is that, you know, it's like a secret organization. And I think the more transparent and open that we are, that the parents will feel more welcome.
You know, there's a lot of new technologies that they're using in the Raytown School District. I've just kind of stumbled across a few of them myself, and with the email and internet and things that they're, the lines of communication are more open now than they have been in the past for parents. I'm a tech-savvy guy, and I wasn't even aware of all of the avenues that I'm able to interact with the teachers at my kid's school. So I think a lot of it would be to promote that communication and you know, help the teachers let their students' parents know about these different ways to communicate with the teacher. Another thing that I think would help is if the kids had more work that they brought home, so the parents are aware of what their kids are studying. I know when I was a kid, I didn't always have a whole lot of homework, but I did have some homework, and that's how my parents knew what I was studying. My daughter, she's a bright girl, but she doesn't have a lot of homework, and half the time I have to go hunt from her to find out, what are you learning in school? I know you're going, I know you're there, and I know your grades look good. I have no idea what you learned last week, you know? So, I mean, and that's also the responsibility of the parent to say, hey, what are you learning in school? And the school district can't make every parent, you know, stay on top of their kids. But, you know, we only have one parent-teacher conference in the year. It's in the fall at the very beginning of the year. And then we don't necessarily hear anything else for the rest of the school year. So I just think closer relationships and maybe an emphasis for the teachers to stay in closer contact with the parents themselves, whether it be through email or phone calls or whatever. I think just that simple communication and building that community within your school district would be the best thing that you could possibly do, probably quite affordably.
I'm going to ask you to shift your attention back to the budget. You alluded to the projected shortfall for fiscal year 12. And from the state portion of the district, where we know that there's probably going to be a cut in the foundation formula, in the transportation, and although Governor Nixon has discussed maybe backing off on the transportation piece of that, and the short-term ERA funding, federal funding may help in the short term, we would still be looking at something pretty drastic a couple of years from now if further action were not taken now. So what kind of things would you be looking at or expect the district to look at to decrease expenses? What kind of specific things would you do to decrease expenses and to increase income revenue?
The first thing you have to do is you have to, well, I was just talking about it. The technologies that we have at our fingertips nowadays is amazing. I went, I got my graduate degree online. They didn't have to have a classroom for me to go to or anything like that. I still had to pay to go, but it was I have to believe that it was a very cost-effective means of delivering an education to me, because they didn't have to have a brick-and-mortar building to put me up in. So I think we have to expand our ideas as to how we educate our children. I was saying earlier that there are all kinds of different means of educating our children nowadays. I mean, and we need to take advantage of all those and investigate them. Some of them may not work. They may be bad ideas, but you have to at least investigate them to find out whether or not they're good or bad ideas. So first and foremost, because looking at it, I pay a lot of attention to, state and federal finances, and there are going to be cuts. I can't envision a path forward over the next 5 years where there aren't going to be cuts. And so you just kind of have to reconcile yourself with that and plan accordingly. If I'm wrong, then that means I'm wrong to the good side, and we've planned for the worst, and we can hope for the best. But I think you just have to plan on the idea that there are going to be budget cuts. Now, how are you going to deal with them is the issue. When you look at opportunities, like I said, like using online capabilities, that'll help. That could potentially help you out in the high school levels with students. If you don't have to transport them to and from school because they're learning online. I mean, that's just an idea. But I think those are the sort of things that you have to look at. One quick thing, she said something about increasing revenue. There's only so much revenue that you can pull out of the system. And right now, it's not an economic situation where you can pull much more out of it. So I don't know what to tell you about that.
Well, I wish I had the answer to all these nice questions here. But without going over the budget in its entirety, line by line, it's hard for me to say right now what steps that I would be taking. But I will try my best to answer this question to the best of my ability here today. It goes back to the AYP. Not only was I able to go on there and look at it, but we have other parents that's outside of the Raytown area can view that AYP. One of the things we need to increase our student population by bringing new residents, people to the Raytown area. We attract new businesses to the Raytown area because of our educational standards. Because that's why I came to Raytown back in the early days, because it was foremost the best education you could find in this area was Raytown. And as far as the budget being cut, you go line by line, you can always find something in that budget that you probably could take out, and Mr. Landis probably could say something better or not on that. But I think, we would not sacrifice the safety of our students and lower our educational standards. But maybe there's some administrative position can be combined, cut, that we probably need to take a closer look at. But it goes back to the beginning. It's always about the volunteers. We need help in that area. Thank you.
As it relates to the federal government stimulus money that we've been given and we did get and what have you, our superintendent and his leadership team had the forethought and the foresight far enough ahead that realized you don't spend that money on reoccurring expenses. And so that's one of the things that we looked at doing, and we did. We did take the money, we did spend the money, but it wasn't on a reoccurring thing that in 2012 or after, when that money doesn't come in, that we're going to continue to carry that expense forward. 2 years ago, our patrons passed a tax increase for our school district that gave us 80-some cents more to help operate our district. But realizing that that was an increase, even though then our superintendent realized that wasn't going to carry us forever and ever and ever. So as a board, we've been looking, and they've been looking at ways to trim back without sacrificing student achievement, and that's something we're just going to have to continue to do. If you remember about 2 months ago, Lee Summit tried to pass a tax increase that didn't happen, and they're going to get slammed with $6 more million they've got to cut out of their budget according to the paper. Well, our superintendent has the foresight to see that, and we continue to look at ways that we can reduce our budget, again, though, without sacrificing student achievement, student safety, maintaining quality teachers and staff, to continue to do that.
Thank you. One of the questions asked by an audience member is, I think, an appropriate follow-up to that. Given the budget necessities, how are you going to retain and recruit highly qualified, highly effective teachers for our class?
Well, again, you have standards that you want to pursue, and when you're freezing salaries, and that's basically what we're all doing, you just have to recruit top quality students. You have to expand your horizon as to where you're looking, and through your human resources department, that's where you go, and you try to make their teaching, even though teaching is not an easy job, don't get me wrong, you try to make it as comfortable as you can, but it is a hard profession to get into, and then once you get that teacher, you want to maintain them through what salaries you can.
Would the other two candidates like to answer the follow-up as well? How would you propose, given the budget, to recruit and retain high-quality, highly effective teachers?
Well, it's all about money. I mean, qualified teachers, I think most of our teachers are qualified to teach. It's always those that go above and beyond what is asked of them to do. I think in the Raytown School District, we have those teachers already. If we give those teachers the equipment, the latest technology, and bring them up to standards, they'll be staying with us and not going to Blue Springs or Lee Summit. It's like anything else, it's an economical thing. But I do believe that in order to recruit and maintain those teachers, they have to have several things. One, the tools to get the job done. And most of them do it without asking for the money. Most of them will do the job if they got the material and stuff to get it done with. But if you have that and you also have a decent pay, I think that's what will keep a teacher that's willing to go above and beyond to educate our students.
Recruit and retain, right? Recruit and retain. Well, first of all, it's simple math that it is cheaper to retain than it is to recruit new workers and get new workers into any business. So I think you have to focus on, first and foremost, retaining the quality teachers that we have, and we have a lot of quality teachers in the Raytown School District. So I think that should be the priority, is retaining the good ones that we have right now. As far as recruiting new teachers, that's kind of a budgetary decision. Where are you going to spend your money? You just have to kind of look at it on an annual basis. Are we going to spend X amount of dollars on this project, or are we going to spend that same X amount of dollars on recruiting 3 new great teachers for Robinson Elementary School, or whatever the case may be? It's just a simple decision process or decision making in the budgeting process of where you're going to spend your dollars. It's also important to understand that in the hiring process that it's not just wages that makes a happy employee. It's work conditions. It's the people they work with, the environment in which they work, the resources that they have to do their job, and the satisfaction they get from working in an environment that helps them succeed and helps their students succeed. So I believe that, like I said, you got to focus on retaining the quality teachers you have, recruiting new teachers. As far as paying for new teachers, that's just a decision you have to make in the budgeting process. And finally, that you would most definitely want to make sure that you're providing a superior work environment for all of your teachers. And you just have to beat your competition, which is Independence, Blue Springs, Lee Summit, by providing a better work environment than they do.
Thank you. We had initially scheduled the forum from 2 to 4 today, but that was based on 5 candidates, and we had the 2-hour slot set out. So we're going to go ahead and ask 2 more questions, and then give each candidate 2 minutes to wrap up. So, our next question
This is another one about teachers. Collective bargaining for educators has been in the news quite a bit lately, what's going on in Wisconsin. One of our audience members would like to know how each of you feels about collective bargaining for teachers.
The Raytown School District is very fortunate in the fact that we have a negotiating team of teachers and staff that we meet with our administrators and work towards coming up with a salary, a benefit package, and what have you. In the state of Missouri, it's illegal for teachers to strike. I guess they could all walk out if they wanted to, but still be illegal. I think there have been steps towards going in some districts towards collective bargaining. I know Independence had a big thing about it. Unions have been the backbone of our country, but I think in some cases they've been the downfall of some of the things that have happened too. But in Raytown, we're very fortunate that there is a cooperative venture between the negotiating team and our administrators, and then that carries into what they bring to the board as a recommendation. So what we have works real well.
Okay, could you repeat that question for me?
One of the audience members would like to know your stand on collective bargaining for teachers.
Collective bargaining with the teachers. I do believe in collective bargaining. I believe that you sit down at the table and you agree upon certain principles and things that you want to operate by. I also believe that if you agree that there's a no strike clause in there, then there's a no strike clause. But I believe that the teachers should have a collective bargaining, and like Mr. Landon said, the union have done great things and they've done not so great things. But since I was a labor specialist with my job, I dealt with the unions every day, and the unions really only represented probably about 5% of the craft that stayed in trouble. But they did more than just represented the people that got in trouble all the time. They negotiated work conditions. I don't know how the teachers union operate, but I'm assuming that, there's a certain amount of students that can be in the class. And things like that would help make everything best for everybody. So that's until I know a lot about the collective bargaining union that was established with the teachers, I don't know if I could, speak too much on, but I do agree that they should have one.
The situation in Wisconsin is quite unfortunate. That's what happens when people decide they don't want to sit down and talk to each other anymore. I find that to be a very unfortunate situation up there. From everything I've been told and everything I've experienced within the Raytown School District, the district and the teachers union have a very good working relationship, and that's to be commended, and it's a very good thing. We should all be very thankful that that's the case. I think that the teachers should have the ability to collectively bargain with their employer, especially when the employer is the state. I don't think that a union should be able to hold the state over a barrel if the state doesn't have funds. I don't think that the state should hold the union over the barrel pretending like they don't have funds. It has to be we're here in Raytown, we're a community, so it has to be a community. You have to sit down with your neighbor and sit down and work it out. Here's what we have, here's what you guys need, let's make this work. And as long as people come into the situation with an open mind, willing to explore the possibilities of new ideas, when the situations dramatically change like they did in the fall of 2008, then you can really take advantage of the situation and really improve the situation, as long as you're willing to keep an open mind, look at new ideas, find things that work, and get rid of things that don't. But if you're just bound and determined to hold on to the status quo, regardless of what the current situation is, then I think you're just going to find failure right in front of you. I mean, you have to be able to work together. And so as long as everybody's working together, I think collective bargaining is great. But I would really hate to see the idea that what is going on in Wisconsin come to my hometown. So I guess that's my take on it.
Thank you. And our last question, and we would just like for each candidate to take 1 minute to address. What will you do to identify and reduce student bullying in schools? Is it more prevalent in some schools than others?
Bullying. I got bullied in school. And it sounds bad, but the only way I wasn't bullied anymore is I learned to stand up for myself. And, you know, didn't mean I had to get in a fight, but it meant I stood up for myself. And I think the best way to address bullying is to empower children to stand up for themselves and to not allow themselves to be violated by another student. That doesn't mean physical violence. It doesn't mean you get in a fist fight. But it does mean you're in my space. Request help from somebody else to come and prevent what's going on beyond that. But you can't. Because the reality of the situation is, if you are looked at as a tattletale, as a person who goes and says, oh, they're picking on me. Well, guess what? It's going to get worse. You have to stand up for yourself. But that doesn't mean you can't get help from somebody to help you stand up for yourself. But you have to empower the individual to grow up and be an individual and stand up. I mean, that's what you have to do to stop bullying.
And I apologize. Could you repeat that question?
What would you do to reduce bullying in schools? And is it more prevalent in some schools than others?
I do believe it's more prevalent in some schools than others. Raytown School has a discipline policy. I haven't really heard any incidents of bullying. There may be some going on, but I think that it's like anything else. If the teacher pays attention to her classroom, his or her classroom, and the administrators be held accountable, bullying, we could X out bullying, because there's rules on the book now. But what I believe that most teachers and administrators would do is either feel that they don't have the backing to address these issues, or they just look the other way. But I think if the teacher pays attention in the classroom, just like anything else, she would know what's going on. He or she would know what's going on. And administrators at that office would know what's going on, because people talk. And the way we address that is to enforce our discipline policies that's already on the books.
In answer to the second part of that question, I don't know whether it's worse in some buildings than the others, but yes, there's bullying, I'm sure, going on in every building to a degree. I think through some of our teacher training programs where we have addressed those issues, and we have our teachers monitor the hallways more, keep their ears open more to what's going on in the classroom. Again, as Jerome said, you can pick up on little things that will indicate. You can pick up on body language. You can pick up on different things, and we're taking our teachers through some of this training to do that. And anytime you, as Eric said, tattling is not good, but somebody else, you don't have to tell. Somebody else can do it for you. But teachers are listening, and administrators are listening. Our resource officers are listening, and it is an ongoing problem, but it's something that we're trying to address.
Mr. Lander, since you have the mic, we'll go ahead and ask each candidate to take up to 2 minutes or less to give us your final thoughts.
Well, again, I want to thank you for giving us this opportunity. I think anytime that we're given an opportunity to share with our patrons and our public what we feel about our responsibility as board members or future board members, it's important that we take this opportunity to do that. It's kind of unfortunate we didn't have a larger crowd here, but I understand the weather and the basketball tournament's going on, and that if Missouri had played this afternoon, I might have had my phone underneath here keeping up with the score myself. But KU won, that's fine. It just happens, I guess. But anyway, it's something we need to take serious, and that's running for a school board. We are in a position that we're going to affect a lot of students in the future and what they are able to do, a lot of teachers in the future, what they're able to do, and again, in the simplest form, we're going to have to develop policies that enable and empower our teachers to do that and our administrators to do that. We're going to have to keep a close eye on the budget. It isn't going to get any better for the next 3 or 4 years, I'm sure. So the more we can do to alleviate situations that affect the student achievement, it's just something we have to do. And hopefully we can accomplish that, and our kids will continue to bring their scores up. I will say that we're not where we want to be, but our scores are on the rise from what they were 4 or 5 years ago. And but we're chugging along every day. We got some awfully good teachers and awfully good administrators that are proud of what they do and enjoy what they do.
Okay, again, I would just like to thank the NAACP for inviting us here today. As a matter of fact, this is my first time ever sitting on a forum like this. And I've just been told I have 2 more, so. But, you know, I put in for this school board because I've been in the Raytown school system, in the Raytown community for over 25 years. And I retired from my regular job down at the U.S. Postal Service. And my wife asked me, "What are you doing?" I said, "Hey, you know what? I want to get involved with the community a little bit more. You know, that's why I retired early. I got a 12-year-old at the house. I run behind him, or he keep me running. And so that's one of the things that I want to see is that not only that he get a good education, but all the kids in the community get a good education. These are the young men and women that would be looking after me in my elderly age. So, and I want them to be very educated and try to hold on to me as long as possible. But in these times with budget crunch and there's no money out there, like I said, my theory about things is our will is more important than our IQ. So I applaud Mr. Landers for his position. He retired a long time ago too. He could have just stayed at home and sit on the porch and rock the chair, but he stepped up to the plate. And that's what I would like to see more teachers and administrators do, is step up and give our kids the hand that they need to be successful in life. Thank you.
Well, I also would like to thank the NAACP and everybody for attending today. It's my first go around at a forum like this. 2 more. But I really appreciated the opportunity to come out here and share with all you guys what my thoughts are. I think everybody in Raytown should be very proud of the school district that we have. We have a fantastic superintendent. We've had a very responsible school board. I hadn't realized how responsible the school board had been until I had been coming to more of the school board meetings and seeing the budget. We should really, give them all a pat on the back for, a hard job, and they've done a good job of it. I hope that I can earn your guys' trust to put me on the board so I can continue that hard work with them and become part of that team. I just really look forward to having the opportunity. It's an exciting time, and there are going to be tough decisions coming down the road, but we have to all pull together. The bottom line is, regardless, if we have no money, there's no money on the budget, guess what we still have to do? We got to teach our kids. That's what it boils down to. I mean, regardless of what the budget says, bottom line is we got to teach our kids. That means parents are going to have to pitch in. That means administrators are going to have to pitch in. That means students are going to have to pitch in. We're all going to have to pitch in. And, you know, I used to work with Tim Grunhard over at the radio station on 610 Sports, and he always said Marty Schottenheimer would tell the Chiefs before they went out for the football game, grab an oar and row. Well, that's what we're going to have to do. We're all going to have to grab an oar and row because, you know, you got to weather the storm. So, but you also should be very proud of the school district that you have. You should be very proud of the superintendent that you have. You should be very thankful that you're not in the situation that Lee Summit's in. And, you know, thanks again for giving us this opportunity. It's been fantastic.
We need to thank our timekeeper. She had the hardest job.
The timekeeper did a wonderful job. Thank you. I would also like to acknowledge Richard Tush, who is here today. He's the president of the Raytown Democrat Association, and I understand you're having a candidate forum Tuesday evening.
Correct, Tuesday evening.
What time and where?
7 p.m. at REAP, which is...
7 p.m. at the Raytown Emergency Assistance Programs office.
Yeah.
So the information will be posted at Raytown Online. Michael Downing is our videographer today, raytownonline.com. I would like to bring Mr. Standard back up to close the proceedings.
On behalf, I think you can hear me.
Yeah.
Yes. You can hear me. On behalf of our president, Anita Russell, she couldn't be here today. She's out of the city, and she would like to see it. Because you candidates have been great candidates, and I wish Anita could be there to see you guys wanting a big paying job, being on the school board, all of that big pay. And I'm just so proud of you that you want to give your time and take that pay home after you do a great job. Also, I want to thank the church here. You've been wonderful hosts. We've really enjoyed this. The facilities have been outstanding, and you've been a great host. Thank you so much.
I hope you'll come back.
Thank you. We will. We will. And one of the reasons we have these forums is for education. So people get to know their candidate, so they can touch them, hear them, listen to them. The other thing I like to tell you, I didn't do anything. But the people that done it, that start with Mike over there, these are the committee people that do this job. All they do is let me fill in and send it back. There's Alice, they had Judy, Joyce, and sent at the table there, we had Pat, and Anne-Marie, and the timekeeper, Mary, a new person. She joined us at a forum like this. So if any of you that want to join us, just sign up and you can wear one of these shirts. Come over. Because we at NAACP, we really believe in education. This is the way to make a better life for all. So thank you again for the turnout. You've been a great host. Keep going, keep doing what you can. Save some of the money that you make. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.